It's another day in the garage on trouble. We've got quite a bit to do in a short amount of time. Last weekend we took the rear transmission off. Today we're going to just put it somewhere, not sure where, but that's the first thing we're going to do today, is move this lump. It's quite big, so we're going to see if we can lift it up. If we can't lift it up, I'm going to use my trusty skateboard, sit it on here, and then just push it off. So that's the first job to do today, move that. Once that's out the way, we'll be able to get into the rear trunk and pull out all of the, I guess, like service lines or whatever you want to call them that go down the rear tunnel and clear the tunnel. So that's things like my heater cables, throttle linkage, clutch cable. Oh, there's loads. Tachometer, handbrake cables. There's all sorts. So yeah, clear it out and the loom. Once we've cleared that out, we're going to finally take off my lock plates. I'm gonna finally take these guys off. Then the whole of the rear of the car will be stripped. Our bum will be naked, how we like it. And I just have to do the front of the car, which hopefully will be a little bit more straightforward. The front of the car is not today's job. Today's job is clearing the rear end and the tunnel. Let's see how we get on. Let's go. Right, the gearbox is out. I am sat where it was. This is my rear engine and transmission bay. And as you can see, there's loads of services hanging about here, just doing all sorts of different bits and bobs. And there are also quite a few little fittings. This was the reversing switch on the gearbox. This comes up, there's a little clip on the top here, which also retains the brake line. The brake line goes down into this housing, or this union, sorry, and the reversing light goes into the loom here. Here we have the end of the tachometer, which is my rev counter. So that attaches to this rear tray here with a nut and bolt and a strap. It's in a little kind of like, what do you call this? What's this called? Clagging. It's in some kind of clagging, which has been hot at some point, as you can see. So that is the tachometer. We have a handbrake cable here, it's the end of it. And that goes through, I think, the same hole. I can't actually see. Oh yeah. Oh, what's that? What have we got here? What do we think that is? Just a load of grease. Get rid of that. Oh, there's so much grease. So much grease. Okay, my fingers are now fucking covered. Clutch cable. Oh, did we see what happened there? Not sure if you guys saw what just happened there. My clutch cable just fell out. And we were struggling to get it out. And the reason for that was because apparently the end gets through this sleeve. And I unfortunately really pulled it. Trying to get this back out is going to be quite difficult. But that came through this little hole at the top. So that's the clutch hole. Clutch hole, throttle hole, left heating. Oh, Jesus, it's all falling off now. Look at that, that fell off. Left heating wire, tachometer, handbrake cable, and then fuel line. Fuel line is this one. So that's all of those. Now if we go to the other side, we've got what went through this one. Any guesses? I can't remember, no idea. I think that's actually a bolt. I think that's what my earth strap was on the gearbox. I have to ask my dad, he undid that one. This is heater pipe control here. Brake line, loom, and this top one, loom, and then another handbrake cable down there. Sick, that's all of them, that's everything. Gearbox mount. There's a tag up here, some more tags for the loom. Take the loom out, need to take these little heaters off. Yeah, get those heater valves out. Once that's out, the car will be stripped. What do we think? Do you now know where everything goes? I think we do. My hands are filthy. Let's get going.
A key feature of a Porsche is its central tunnel, which is packed with cables and pipes. Trouble being rear engine just adds to this clutter. Before pulling these pipes and cables out, I had to undo a few rusty fixings. I generously dosed them in WD-40 to help undo them.
Okay.
No.
You pushing in?
Yeah.
It's just rotating. Should we just grind it off?
Hang on, I could see what I was doing. I might then be able to do a better job. Getting out. Go again.
So it's ready to, oh, because it just slipped.
Yeah, it slipped.
It didn't work. Time for the angle grinder.
Okay, now we've got to undo this one. I think it's like 10 mil or 9.
Which one do you want then?
9 mil. It's going to be 9 mil.
That's 9.
With the taco cable free, we just needed to undo the retaining straps which keep these cables and pipes clear of the drive shafts. These straps were fixed with a single 9mm M6 bolt, small but mighty when rusty.
One strap.
That was for the handbrake cable, and then you've got the rev counter tube.
Some awkward spannering later, and a few different ratchets, and I had one down and one more to go.
That was another handbrake cable, wasn't it?
Yeah. Is that off?
Yeah.
We were now ready to start pulling out some of these cables. The taco cable was the first up. This came out seamlessly until the very end of it got caught on some of the gubbins in the tunnel. A lot of wiggling later and it came free. Next up, we had the two heater cables. These just slid straight out without complaint. Only working on the rest of the car was like that.
Not very long. Just look at all this grease. Yeah.
The next cables to remove were the handbrake cables. Unlike the heater cables and the taco, these needed to be pulled out of the gearbox end of the tunnel. Before we could do this though, we had to undo the handbrake cable splitter. This clever contraption takes a singular handbrake cable and splits it into two. Before we could open the clip and separate the individual handbrake cables, we needed to remove this spring. It was a stubborn spring and the screwdriver kept slipping. I improvised. Using a cable tie, I fashioned a spring puller. All I'm going to say is it's not stupid if it works.
One spring.
With the spring unsprung, I could remove it and start on separating the cable splitter. Once the clip on the cable splitter was off, we could remove the respective cable ferrules from their slots in the cable holder. Fortunately, but also unfortunately, this was packed with grease. The grease had protected it from rusting, but made it a pretty messy job to work on.
That comes off there.
Next, I could pull out the cables.
Is it going? Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be filthy.
Oh boy.
It's going to be filthy.
It's fucking disgusting.
Apparently the cable splitter wasn't the only thing loaded with grease.
Oh, it's a clump.
I understand greasing a cable to help it slide, but I feel like this is excessive. Anyone else feel the same, or is it just me?
This is packed with grease.
Yeah, but can you also get the other one out?
I'm stuck.
How much grease was in there?
Light.
Right. Clear up time.
We've just taken off handbrake cables. You might have just seen how greasy they were. That is because there's actually a grease nipple here. Really, really thick and rubbish. So my mum is going to take those and start cleaning them up. Excited?
I get all the good jobs.
While my mum carried on cleaning up the worst of the gum and the handbrake cables so that we could store them without covering everything else in the shed with grease, I started on the next item on my hit list, the brake lines. I started by undoing the T-piece union from the body until my dad had the bright idea of trying to undo the individual pipe connections on the union while it was held by the car.
If we take that out, why don't you actually try and undo that union, and then we could take that pipe out.
The feed to the left rear wheel would not budge. It doesn't appear Porsche used brass unions on the ends of their pipes.
Is it not going to come undone? No?
What if I take this one off?
In an attempt to not be defeated, I tried undoing the fixing on the other end of this pipe from its support bracket on the body. I had more luck with this one, but it was still tight. With one side of the rear brake line branched and done, I went back to undoing the T-piece union from the body.
Okay. Now,
The last thing to do was undo the feed to the union which runs through the tunnel. This either had to undo or we would have had to cut it off. Luckily, by using a big adjustable spanner combined with some persistence, my dad slowly undid all of the individual connections going into the union. These were tough to undo, and to make matters worse, we really wanted to try and keep them in one piece, to use them as templates for Trouble's new brake lines.
Sample?
All I'm going to say is, when I tried to undo them, I must have loosened them a bit.
With the bit we really want, brass union.
I can reuse that.
Of course, yeah. This is brass. When you polish this with your toothbrush, this will look beautiful.
Mummy,
yeah.
you need to polish my brass union with a toothbrush. Once my mum had finished telling me what she thought about cleaning up the brass union, I checked in with her to see how she was getting on. Handbrake cables, all of the old rubbish is off them. You can now see the grease nipples, which are here. So all of the hard road grime has been cleaned off these. And she has done the other one, which is here. Cleaned up all the old road grime off. There.
Do I look like I've shirked Mr. Bit?
That's like the first stage of cleaning of those. Now she's working on my clutch cable. This that goes on the gearbox through those two holes. So she's just about to start cleaning that up. Let's watch. Part of the brake system to remove was the tunnel pipe. Before pulling this through, I had to remove a spring clip that helped seal the rubber grommet around the pipe. Once the spring clip was off, my dad pulled it through the tunnel. This was easier said than done, as this pipe not only went all the way down the tunnel, but it also had a kink at the end where it went through the front bulkhead to where the master cylinder was. Luckily, the bends in the end didn't put up too much of a fight. There we go. With the brake line deleted, I moved on to removing this rusty looking spring mechanism and the throttle linkage which runs through the tunnel. This mechanism, bolted to the side of the tunnel, is all part of the throttle mechanism and connects the accelerator pedal and hand throttle to the throttle linkage. To remove the throttle linkage from the mechanism,
We first of all need to pop this off. I'm gonna do that with a 10mm line here. Is that popped off? So now we should be able to just pull that through. We'll do that in a second. Now we're going to take this throttle linkage off, and I'm going to start by undoing cable clamps up here.
So that's for the hand throttle.
yeah. As my dad said, this wire is for the hand throttle, which goes up to a knob on the dash. I'm not convinced it should be in two halves with these clamping nipples, so if anyone knows, let me know in the comments. It's fixed to the underside of the dash in two places.
Now there's one back here. It's pretty awkward to get to. Okay, this, and I'll pop off there. So that's that cable off. Now I'm going to undo those bolts.
So much easier working on this car without a floor pan.
Yeah.
You could sort of like half assemble it and then just put the floors in. Or have detachable ones.
Stuck in with CT1.
Yeah, you just glue them in. You could build it like a modern supercar and just bond it all together. That'd be James bonding it.
James Bond ever driven a 356?
I don't know. Maybe it's about time the Broccoli family moved their allegiance from Aston Martin to Porsche.
James Bond would look good in a GT3. One more, which is, where are you?
There.
Okay, this is now off. That's that. Right, throttle linkage time.
Pleased with that?
Okay.
While me and my dad had been extracting the remainder of Trouble's throttle linkage, my mum had finished cleaning the worst off the clutch cable bracket. This is now ready to be degreased in the parts washer and then bead blasted back to bright aluminium.
What are you working on?
I'm trying to take off undo the loom clips, which are not in a great way. Oh, this one's just snapped off. Might have to get new clips welded in. Right, that's that bit. Now it goes in.
Where does it go? Oh, it goes through a hole there. It goes through there. Oh, I see. So it's going through from one side to the other.
At this point, I'm not convinced either me or my dad know where this loom is going. But what I do know is that the loom clips, which are just thin strips of steel bent over, were all stuck up with old undersill, making it awkward to bend them back open. Once I'd finally undone these loom clips, passed the loom back through from one side to the other, and then undone the remaining loom clips in the transmission bay, I was ready to pull the looms out of the tunnel.
Okay, so pull this one through.
That one got its own grommet.
Yeah. First cable, we're going to try and remove this big chunky feed to the exhaust motor. Tug of war. Someone very kindly chopped it off my battery. I think this one also comes backwards.
I was right. The main loom did also get pulled out the back, but first, before I could pull it through, I had to wriggle it through some holes at the front of the tunnel. This wasn't particularly easy as the bend radiuses were fairly tight and the loom had definitely lost some of its flexibility over the years. After struggling for a while, I decided to get the hot air gun out to see if a little bit of heat might rejuvenate the loom's flexibility. It did the trick, just. The heat definitely helped get the loom through those little passageways, but I wouldn't go as far as saying it was easy.
Oh, I'm not putting a loom back in this car. can't see a thing, I've just blinded myself.
With the loom now free as a bird at the front, I could pull it all the way back, through and out the tunnel.
Gently. Push, pull, push, pull.
Put it down.
Ah, now we're coming.
That was exhausting. The rear end is so nearly cleared out. The last two things on my list are removing the heater flapper boxes and the door latch plates. I started first on one of the heater flapper boxes. The pipe clamp of this had become one with the pipe, so I went straight to the angle grinder.
Have you got the goggles? I can't see. This might actually call for some safety specs.
On this occasion, the safety squints weren't quite up for the job, so I upgraded to some safety specs. These safety specs were about as scratched as a pair of sunglasses long lost in the bottom of a beach bag and were no better to see through than my safety squints. I still couldn't see a thing and ended up accidentally cutting through the heater pipe.
I'm cutting through my...
Cut through the wrong thing.
No, I cut through the pipe.
Struggling to remove my heater box, my dad showed me how to do it with his side. Apparently, you just wriggle it off. Now in the knowledge of the proper removal process, I tried taking mine off again. Still not up.
There's nothing to rotate against, because this is just...
Isn't that difficult?
Apparently, what I can't do with an angle grinder, my dad can do with a hacksaw blade. When did you become a maestro of working on cars? Asking for a friend. We then tackled the last thing on the list, the lock latch plates. We had tried a number of times to undo these. Doing the same thing twice and getting the same result is understandable. But doing it a third time while expecting a different outcome, that's madness. So, to make sure we weren't going mad, once again, we went straight for the angle grinder. Some very delicate and awkward angle grinding under the rear wheel arches later, which in hindsight was a complete waste of time, as both the door slam posts had been scrapped and replaced with new ones. We successfully separated the door latch plates from the slam posts. As I was filming the ceremonial moment, the most extraordinary thing happened. Remember my gecko eggs? This little guy crawled out from somewhere in trouble.
Do you think it's living there?
I don't know! It's come out of one of these!
Do you actually think?
100%.
You have to keep it.
That's definitely not bad. It wants to go back to its car. Quick.
Put it outside.
It wants to go back to its car.
So many things to talk about. First of all, first landscape video. How was that? Pretty cool, right? You'll be pleased to know from now on, all my videos are gonna be landscape. That's a nice change. And now I know, to answer your burning question, what happened to that lizard? Did my dad get his own way and get it chucked out of the garage? Well, make sure you're subscribed to find out. The rear end of Trouble is completely stripped. There was so much in that kind of central tunnel that I had to pull out. We did tons. I mean, taking the gearbox out the week before seemed like a big job, and it seemed like most of the transmission bay was empty. But to be honest, the gearbox was just half of it. There was so much stuff in that transmission tunnel. The tacho, the heater cables, the handbrake cables, the brake pipes, the throttle linkage, the loom, the list goes on and on. It was hard to take out. I'm really not looking forward to having to put it back in. I really hope you enjoyed this video. My God, was it a big video to edit. It's taken me days. I tell you what, it's a lot quicker to take the car apart than it is to piece together these videos. But anyway, I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, please give it a like. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you know where that lizard came from or what kind of lizard gecko it is, get that in the comments. And if you don't want to miss a moment of Tropics Restoration, don't forget to subscribe. I really appreciate the support. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.